Well, these Salomons have some big shoes to fill because we're trekking about 6.5 miles, going from 8,500 to about 10,000 feet. And I have about a 44-pound pack on. And so these Salomon Speed Assault 2s are very different. I kind of took a risk on this trip. Today we're gonna unpack whether or not they're capable, how they perform on this type of trip, as well as my day hiking excursions, and find out whether or not they're too flexible and too lightweight for this type of adventure or not. I'm Aaron, this is Gideon's Tactical. Let's dive on in. Well, after soaking in creation at that altitude in the Rockies for a few days, we made it back safe and sound. And the two main things right out of the gate that these Speed Assaults really bring to the table that a lot of other crossover hybrid, because that's what it is. It's not really a boot to me. It's not really like a tennis shoe, running shoe, are twofold. One is flexibility, agility that's gonna offer. These are very flexible, agile shoes and lightweight capability. As an example, this shoe right here weighs just over 11 ounces. In stark contrast to most other boots, as an example, I have here these XA Force Salomons that I took on a recent backpacking trip a few years ago up in Wyoming. Nowhere near as flexible. And this boot alone right here is just over 18 ounces. And so to put that in full perspective, a pair of Speed Assault 2s is going to be almost 14 ounces lighter than a pair of these Salomon XA Forces on your feet. That much weight being reduced is absolutely gonna put a spring in your step when you're going up trail, and I totally experienced that. Now, the real question is that lightweight flexibility too much of a compromise compared to the rigid durability of heavier boots? We're gonna begin with the sole and tread of this model. Now, this is their Conta grip that Salomon uses on many of their designs. I've had them on several, and I've found that they hold up about as well as Vibram soles from my personal experience. And these shoes I purchased all the way back in November 2022. It's now August 2023 when I'm making this video, and I've used this not only on that multi-day trip, but tons of day hikes and just wearing around town and holding up very well with really deep pattern, what they call chevron. I don't know if there's some partnership with the rubber sole or something like that, but you got these V-patterned texture points that are grippy. I mean, this is like Spider-Man on the side of a wall. This thing holds on to whatever material you may be walking through. In my experience on this trip, not only did I have to go across logs that bridged different creeks that were wet and pretty narrow, and I felt a level of stability that I haven't always had in texture, like grip to those logs, as well as fording, just walking through it, some creeks over those slick rocks, and held on well with that, as well as just your general rock formations as well as dirt that you go through on a trail. So the chevron lugs are going to grip in a way that a lot of other boots just aren't gonna do. As an example, here's those Salomon Forces again. Different pattern, work well, but they're not as grippy as these chevron lugs. Now, that ability to grip is magnified because of the flexibility in the design. This does not have any form of a TPU shank or rigid material in the center of the sole. And so what that means is it allows you to adhere and grip and kind of contour with your foot and give you more contact with the sole on whatever environment you may be engaging with, say a wet, slippery log or rock transitions. And you really, it's an intuitive feeling that I don't normally have in these type of adventures, because I've usually in the past have leaned towards big, bulky, heavy boots, which are pretty rigid. And that means less contact on, say, a log or a particular rock. And this allows you to kind of, I don't know, adhere more to your terrain. Now, the downside of that I was really concerned with is, what about impact? You know, in the Rocky Mountains, if you've ever hiked a trail, they're called the Rocky Mountains for a reason. There are rocks everywhere on trail, little pebbles to boulders that you're going up and down on. And I was really concerned, is this gonna fatigue my foot? Am I gonna feel the impact of every single rock? When I purchased these, I was concerned about that. Now, leading up to that, my day hikes, I wasn't really feeling that, but I was like, well, I'm gonna have a 40-pound pack on in this trip. Let's find out. I was stunned that on only 2 occasions on the entire trip, up and down, did I ever feel like I don't know, it was probably about the size of like a tennis ball size rock. Did I kind of feel it and, you know, cause a momentary like, ooh, discomfort up and down that entire trail. The rest of the time through rocky creek beds, over all kinds of rocky terrain up the lake, I never had any foot fatigue in any way, shape, or form. And even when I got to our campsite after that 6+ miles, I was impressed that I didn't have any sort of foot fatigue and felt a lot more comfortable. And around camp, I felt like I had a pair of tennis shoes on versus a big luggy, clunky pair of shoes that I want to strip off. And to wrap everything up on the sole, you're going to get a 4mm drop on the heel. It is going to have an EVA foam midsole, so that's kind of what's going to absorb and help with all that. And then you have an Ultralight insole that can be removed. And that's all combining to shockingly not create foot fatigue on my trips in the Rocky Mountains. Now, another concern I had was in durability of the body. This is a ripstop nylon fabric with some little texture points to kind of give it some structure on the sides. And it is breathable mesh and is not waterproof. These are not waterproof boots. Well, I'm pleased to report not only is the abrasion resistance holding up really well through all the different terrain and months of use that I've had with these, including even the toe, where sometimes, you know, you can get some pulling away, and even that little bit of reinforced toe cap, it's just like a polymer kind of coating, I guess, over the fabric probably, but it's not wearing, it's holding up super well. And I had to ford 2 creeks going up and 2 creeks going down, and what I loved is how quickly it dried. With wool socks on, after our last fording of the creek, and that was probably about 2 miles before we got back to the car, my socks obviously were still damp, but the outer body had stopped basically showing signs of moisture, which was fantastic. And when we were going up, fording those several water streams, that evening, I took it off. The next morning, they were bone dry and ready to rock and roll again. It will have that gusseted tongue, which just means that it's easier to, you know, get on, keep debris out, and then their quick lace system, which I've had about on 4 different Salomons now. I really like it. I find that I don't really need to adjust them in my daily, you know, round town type of stuff. And maybe once on trail, it's just a quick pull, cinch down, and then you got your little pocket right there to tuck away the extra lace. And really good, I like this right here, really good stitching on each loop. That's like tri-stitched, it looks like, per loop. So very durable on all of those loops, bringing it up and nice and snug around your ankle. Now, thankfully, these run true to size as well. I'm an 11.5. I purchased an 11.5, fit me great, works super well. They do have different width sizes that do exist. This is just a medium. I have like the most generic foot ever, not too much of a high arch, but not a flat foot either, not too wide, not too narrow. The medium size worked great for me. If you have really wide feet, I would look into the wider size, since it is somewhat of a narrower cut, particularly kind of in the center, but then bulges out here near your toes. So I didn't have any sort of cramping or anything like that. But it is like a sporty cut, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Now, this is in their tactical line, so you're gonna have very muted color options. This is the Wolf Gray. There are no reflective points anywhere on the shoe to draw attention. So in certain situations, you may want that. In the way that these are designed, you do not. They do also have black and coyote tan color palettes as well that you can choose from. It is refreshing to have just kind of more toned down colors versus so many hiking shoes and boots nowadays look like a pack of juicy fruit gum. Now, before I get to the one terrain where this may not always fly and be the best choice, the price on these, as I stated earlier, I purchased back last year, is about $160. Now, that's right in the normal range for a Salomon mid-height boot. They usually go between like $150 and $200. So at $160, that's about what the market is pricing out for a lot of different brands, and particularly for Salomon. Now, I did buy these through one of our affiliates and the sponsor of this video, which is LA Police Gear. Now, I've been partnering with LA Police Gear for years now because they carry so many different well-established brands of gear and equipment, and particularly in the footwear arena. They carry the entire line of tactical boots from Salomon, as well as many other brands like Merrell, Danner, 511 Tactical, and even their own line of LA Police Gear footwear. So if you guys decide that today's the day to pick up a Speed Assault 2, or if there are just other versions, now this has helped you determine for yourself, you know what, I need to go in a different direction, I would encourage you, if you're looking for those toned down, tactical, profiled shoes, check out all the different versions and options that LA Police Gear offers. And there will be a link in the description below this video over to LA Police Gear, as well as my exclusive 10% off promo code that works site-wide towards your purchase. So not only are you gonna be able to save some money, but you've got a lot of variety to choose from when you check out LA Police Gear. Now, what about that one environment where these boots maybe don't make a lot of sense? Because on trail, these things have really blown past my expectations. If you don't need waterproof capability, or you don't want waterproof capability, and you want something really nice and flexible and lightweight, I've been super pleased. The traction though, and the tread is not super ideal for like around town. Going to the office, lots of concrete, and those type of terrain environments where it's just really flat, just because of how high the chevron lugs are and just the way that they're profiled, they're just better options. Not that it can't do it, but this style of sole that's just a little bit flatter, not quite as high profile as the chevron lugs, just make it a little bit more tactile when you're walking around on just flat concrete surfaces. So if you're 80% concrete and 20% you're gonna be on trail with these, well, then maybe there's better options like those XA Forces. But if you're planning on basically using this mainly for on trail, or just a lot of your work environment, maybe you're a range officer, you are in the military, first responders, law enforcement, and you're in all kinds of crazy terrain all the time, well, then this is absolutely gonna have the texture, the grip that you're gonna want in those type of environments. So guys, I hope that this video has helped you better unpack, understand what the Speed Assault 2 from Salomon shoes and footwear offer, what they're really good at, maybe what are some areas where they lag in, to help you better determine for yourself, are these the right pieces of footwear to use on your adventures or in your daily living? I look forward to hearing all the comments below. If you have questions that I missed, leave a comment as well, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Appreciate you guys coming over today and spending your time. I invite you to check out the other video popping up, and if you haven't yet subscribed, to subscribe. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.